Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H event space. You're tuned into favorite tools of a photo organizer. This is part of our Save Your Photos Month series that we're going to be doing with the photo managers. Yes, the photo managers are back. We love having them on. And Amanda Littlecott is joining us today. Amanda, I should probably say good afternoon or good evening. You're a little bit
Yeah, we're
ahead of
more,
us.
yeah, we're more evening. We're going to evening, I think we're saying. Yes, I'm over in the
Yeah,
UK, in case anyone was wondering why I'm saying evening.
you're ready to wrap your day up. We're just
I
getting started
am.
over here.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm,
still, you still got the energy. You probably have more energy than I do at 1 p.m. So
I'm like, yes, almost,
let's
day's
go.
almost done.
There you go. Well, you're going to end your day right then. Of course, Amanda's going to be talking about favorite tools for a photo organizer. I don't even know where to begin. So I'm going to leave it up to the professional here. And Amanda, I'm going to join you in at the end for some Q&A. So if you guys do have any questions,
Absolutely.
you know the drill. We'll get some links dropped in for Amanda's website or Instagram. And Amanda, you take it away and I'll see you in a bit for the Q&A.
Great. Thank you so much. So super excited to be here to be able to share my favorite tools of a photo organizer and to be part of the Photo Managers Save Your Photos Month. But first, for those who don't know me, I'm going to share a little bit of who I am. So, first of all, I'm quite a simple girl. I am a runner by day. I am not a fast runner. I'm not a competitive runner, but I am all about the medal, if you notice from the pictures. I am the type of person who would wake up at 3 a.m. after the photo manager's conference party to run around Disney's Epcot at 5 a.m. to get a medal with Buzz Lightyear and some little aliens that spin. So I am all about the running. And by night, I am a gig goer. I would say I'm more Foo Fighters than Taylor Swift. But I did also see Rick Astley last year. You can't beat a bit of a Rick Astley. So can highly recommend a bit of Rick. But also I am a photo organizer in between. And I've been running my photo organizing business, as we've already mentioned, over here in the UK. So I'm based in London in the UK. I've been running my business for the last 5 years. And being a photo organizer, I totally understand the challenges that we all have with our photos because I get it. It feels like problem after problem after problem when it comes to our photos. When you're trying to take control of all of your photos, it can feel totally overwhelming. So today I'm going to talk about my favorite photo sorting tools so you can feel a little bit more like this at the end of this little talk. And I get it, there are apps out there like Apple Photos and Google Photos that are trying to help you organize your photos. But what if you want to keep full control of your photos? How do you sort them then? What if you want them on your own computer or your own hard drive? With my favorite sorting tools, you can. So as we say over in the UK, let's crack on. Problem number one, duplicates. It is so easy to get duplicates. It's a copy here, it's a paste there, it's a high resolution version, it's a social media version, it's that external hard drive that you've been backing up your photos to. It's the old phone, it's the computer with photos that you think you might already have. Duplicates are everywhere. So they are going to take up space that maybe you just don't have. And if you are backing up to cloud services, it could be costing you money to back up all of those duplicates. And it makes it impossible to find the right photos. And who has all the time to find those duplicates? Well, obviously, I have a tool to help you. So there are lots of tools out there, but my favorites are Photo Sweeper for the Mac, Duplicate Cleaner Pro for the PC, and Dupe Guru that works across both platforms. Try and say that. So don't worry about noting down all of the lovely tools I'm going to talk about, because obviously I'm going to talk about quite a lot. I'm going to share a link to a handout at the end, which also will give you some lovely discounts for all you lovely people. So you can make sure that you find the right tool because, for example, Duplicate Cleaner Pro, if you put that into Google, there's a couple that it could be, and one's great and one's not so great. So check out the handout at the end. But how do these lovely deduplication tools work? Well, essentially, you load up the folder that you want to review. So you can select the whole catalog or just a couple of folders. But what I love about these tools is that you can actually lock a folder of photos. So say you want to protect a precious folder of photos, or maybe you've already sorted your catalog and you just want to see whether the new hard drive that you found, or that USB stick, or the CD that you found under the bed is already in your current catalog. What you can do is you can lock that folder so it won't highlight any duplicates for you. It will keep it safe. And then you can then look up in your new stuff that you've just found and compare it. Then you need to set the type of scan. So there are different types of scan depending on the tool that you're using. So obviously photos, because that's what we're all about, but you can do videos, some of them can also do audio, and some of them can actually just do documents. So you can go beyond the world of photos to find duplicates. Also, you then need to decide what the level is. What do I mean by level? So you can do an exact match. So are your files exactly the same? Do they have the same date, the same size? Is it the same picture, the same resolution? Probably stuff that maybe you've backed up at some point. You may have copied several backups and you just want to see where you only need one. So that's an exact match. But then you have what we call a fuzzy match. So fuzzy match is something where the photo isn't exactly the same, but it's sort of the same. So it might be a lower resolution. It could be slightly different timing. It could be a slightly different size. It could be a different file type. Also, this is a really great way of finding out all of those when you do like a burst photo, or maybe you take 10 photos trying to get the one where only one person's got their eyes closed. So this will then bring up that group for you and say, well, these are kind of sort of the same. So do you want to have a look and see which one you want to keep? So you can go really far down the fuzzy route and they can be really different. So you can go and play around with the settings. And then you basically press go and it goes and scans your photos. And then once it's done its little scan, you can then use these programs to auto mark. So you don't have to kind of go through and say, okay, which is the one I want to keep? They can do the first pass for you. And by auto marking, you need to decide the criteria of what you want. So there is a wealth of opportunities here. So you could do it by file type, whether it's a different resolution. You could do it whether it's got date in the back. Have you tagged it? Have you given it a rating? What, is it the newest, the oldest? Has it been modified recently? You can do all sorts of things. And I mean, it does get a little bit mind blowing, but to keep it simple, first pass I would do, I'm going to do the one that is, I'm going to mark the one that's the smaller size because you probably want the bigger one. And maybe it could be the earliest creation date that you want to keep because that's probably the original and you haven't played around with it. And then you could do file type. So it might be that you want to keep the raw one, or you want to flag the HEIC because they're less useful across different platforms, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. So you decide how you want to mark it, and then you kind of review what you want to delete. But what does that look like? So here's a couple of screenshots about what it might look like. So we've got Photo Sweeper, and then we've got Duplicate Pro. So you can see it's put it into nice little groups for me, and it's highlighting. So on Photo Sweeper, you can see the red ones are the ones it's saying, I think you should get rid of these. And you can review, you can see just hidden over to the right-hand side of that Photo Sweeper screen, you can see there's a whole wealth of information. So you can see which one you're about to delete, you can see where it is, you can see what the resolution is, you can see the file name, you do all sorts of things. So it's really easy to go through and see which ones you want to keep. But as you can see, these tools are different even in their look and feel. And so there are some pros and cons when it comes to each of my selections. So for Photo Sweeper, I have already mentioned it is Mac only. So it's good for your Mac users out there. But because it's Mac focused, it does have a really cute little feature where it will look for duplicate photos in your Apple Photos without you having to download all of your photos out. So you basically take the icon that is your Apple Photos, wherever you've filed it in Finder, you drag it into the tool and it will look for duplicates. And you can go through the same process of that auto marking and deciding what structure you want. And it is way better than the Apple Photos duplicate tool that they've just introduced recently, because you have way more control and you can decide how fuzzy you want your match to be. So definitely a plus in that area. Duplicate Cleaner Pro, PC only, very sad, but it is my favorite tool because it is really good for video scanning. So Photo Sweeper will do a half decent job looking for videos, but Duplicate Cleaner Pro, you can do a separate scan for videos and for audio files and for photos. So you can do different criteria. So that is why I like Duplicate Cleaner Pro. It is epic when it comes to video scanning. And then we've got our lovely Duplicate Cleaner Pro. No, sorry, Dupe Guru, which is the last one. So the best feature about this is it's absolutely free and it works across both platforms. So it is really good if you just want to do a quick pass, see what you've got. But I will say it is a little bit basic. So its auto-marking feature is a little bit limited and the review is not the easiest. But if you just want to do a quick and dirty, get rid of my duplicates, this is where you want to go. So we've solved problem number one. What about problem number two? Wrong dates. So just like duplicates, it's easy to get incorrect dates, whether it's camera settings, maybe it's a time zone difference, maybe you've gone from America over to the UK and you forgot to change your time zone, or maybe it's just file transfers. So maybe you've taken it from a disk and you've got all the wrong dates. So I recently had a problem with a client who had some photos from 2007, which were clearly not 2007 because the children in those photos were clearly not even born 2007. So definitely knew they were wrong. And it just makes events go out of order. It gives you misleading timelines. It can be really confusing. So we have some tools to help us with this. And they are redating tools. So there are lots out there again, but my absolute favorites are a Better Finder Attributes for the Mac, Photo Date Changer for the PC, and the EXIF tool that works across both. But how on earth are these tools going to help you? Now, behind all of your photos is something called metadata. So it has way more information than that creation date and modified date that you can see when you normally look in Finder and Explorer. It has all sorts of stuff to do with your photos. It has the camera you used, whether you used a flash. It has the date taken, the capture. It also has the location information if you are taking on a phone and your GPS is switched on. So just as a little aside, you need to be really careful when you share your photos because they say a lot about you and about where you live and where you've been. So that is a subject for a whole other talk, but just my little word. So how do they work? Essentially, you point these little tools towards your photos and it will search in the back at all this lovely little data that's going on in the background, and it will look for all that data and it will say, okay, these are your date options. And there are a lot of date options. And you can decide how you want to change your photos. So you could just do it by something specific. So maybe you know that all of those photos are from the 23rd of April, 2011, and therefore you just want to change all the dates to that date. It might be that you want to shift it. So again, the time zone thing, maybe you just had the wrong date and then all the photos are in a sequence. So you just need to change it by a number of hours or maybe just a number of days. Then you can use things like the photo shoot day, the capture day, the modified day, QuickTime day. I mean, the list goes on and on. But also these lovely tools will also look in your file name. So if you have ever downloaded photos from the likes of Google Photos, they do come out with some really helpful file names, which has the date in them. Sometimes they lose the date that actually is attached to that file name, but this is where these tools come in. So you can tell it to look at the file name in your file and it will go, okay, that's great. I'm going to change it to that date. So these tools are really powerful. So once you've decided on your date, you go, okay, that's fine. I'm happy. But make sure you check it before you hit that go button because there is no going back. And my selections are very different. They have a very different kind of functionality, and therefore some pros and cons attached to them. So a better find attributes. It is my absolute favorite. It is really easy to use. It has great kind of functionality. You can see all the dates. You can see exactly what you're about to change before you do it. It highlights it really beautifully in blue. You just need to go in, load everything up, and it will do it all for you. But a little bit of problem, it's only for the Mac, which is a little bit disappointing. But if you've got a Mac, you are quids in. Then we have Photo Date Changer. Now, Photo Date Changer is for the PC. It's PC only. And I will say it is a little bit basic. It's really focused on the whole photo shoot date and being able to take that and put it into the creation date. I am still on the Epic search to find a PC version that is as good and easy to use as a better finder attributes, but Photo Date Changer is a good place to start. And then we have the EXIF tool. Now, I will say the EXIF tool is really powerful, really powerful. However, when I say there's a learning curve, I mean, it's practically vertical. The learning curve is really steep because the EXIF tool uses the terminal command window and the command window in PC, which means you have to use command codes to be able to use it. So there is a whole manual that goes with this around how you can then batch change stuff, see stuff. There is online forums of people asking how they can do it. So you do need to be a little bit techie, and it's going to take you some time to be able to get used to using it. But if you can use it, you have the best tool for getting all of your data out of your photos. So it's really good if you've got the time. But when it comes to dates, doesn't matter whatever tool you use, there is still one additional problem you need to keep in mind. The WhatsApp problem. So sharing photos via WhatsApp is very common. I do it all the time. And you get to the end of a trip, you're like, oh, just WhatsApp me the photos, or I'm going to WhatsApp you the photos of our night out. Brilliant. Problem with WhatsApp is that when you load a photo up into WhatsApp, it changes the date in the back of your WhatsApp to the date. It changes the data in the back of that photo to when you loaded it up onto WhatsApp. So all of that lovely, useful photo shoot day data has disappeared and WhatsApp has taken over. So if you wait till the end of your holiday, it will look like all of your photos have been taken on that date. So be really careful about what you believe about your photos. However, I would say it is quite easy to identify WhatsApp photos because they have what can only be described as the craziest names you've ever seen. They are characters long. You'll be able to identify them, but don't believe everything you see. And on to problem number 3, a filing mess. You've got files all over the shop. You've got files, you've got old folders, you've got new folders. It's an absolute mess. You can't find anything. I like everything to be super organized, and a lack of structure leads to chaos. You can't find anything, and you probably feel a little bit like me screaming at the front of the presentation. I get it. Whereas if you've got a clear folder structure, well, the benefit is you can find everything. How good is that? But who's got time to be dragging and dropping? Do you remember the days when we used to have to drag and drop everything? No, we don't need to do that anymore. We've got some lovely tools to help us. We have automatic foldering tools. And my favorites, obviously, are the Big Mean Folder Machine, which is, I love that name. It's amazing. And we've got Photo Move for the PC. Kind of says what it means. It is going to move your photos. So how do these tools work? Well, essentially, they are going to automatically sort based on the criteria that you tell it. And I am an epic big fangirl of the Big Mean Folder Machine. It's so powerful. It's amazing. If you've got a Mac, go with it. But essentially, what you do with this, you do the same thing. You load up your folder. You point it to the highest level that you want sorting. A little bit of a watch out. if you've already got some sorting going on underneath that folder structure, then drag it out, because the Big Mean Folder Machine or Photomove are just going to grab everything and put it into the new structure that you're going to ask it to do. So keep those aside and you can always slide them back in later. But essentially point it to your epic mess. And then you need to define your criteria. And what do I mean by that? So essentially, I mean, you need to define the levels of folder structure that you want. So if you think when you go to Finder or Explorer and you go through your folder structure, so you go to the first folder and the second folder and you click in, that's what you need to think about. So what would you like to see first? Was it year? Maybe it's file type, then it might be month, then it might be date. So it's kind of, maybe it might be day. So it's thinking about what level of that folder structure you want. And you need to say, like, what kind of criteria or dates do you want it to use to do that? So you can use things like photo shoot date, you can do creation date, you could do names on files, you can do file type, which is really useful if you're in the middle of sorting and you're like, I want to find all my videos, I want to find all my PNG, all my, GIFs I've sent to people. You can also do it by camera model as well. So Photomove will be able to do it by camera model. And so it will sort everything due to those dates. But what does it do if you don't have a date? So photo shoot date only exists on photos, doesn't exist anywhere else. You have to tell it what you want it to do. So do you want it to then do it by creation date, or do you want it to put it into another folder and you'll sort them out later? So you need to tell it what you want to do with stuff that doesn't have any dates. And then you need to tell it where you want it to go. So do you want it to copy or move it to a new folder? If we think back to problem number 1 in our duplicates, I would highly recommend that you don't just copy them, because then you're just making the situation even worse. You're then making a whole ton of duplicates again. So I would highly recommend that you move them back, move them from the messy folder structure and then get them to the correct folder structure. And then you just sit back and watch it do its magic, which is amazing. But I will leave you with a few top tips about using these amazing tools. The first thing is to plan ahead. So firstly, plan ahead by redating all the photos that have lost their dates, because if you're going to use the dates to be able to sort your folders, you need to make sure the dates are right. So go through my redating tools first. But also think about what structure would make sense to you. If you needed to go and find a photo or a file, what structure would make sense to you? What do you need to click through to be able to find everything? But also not just you. If you're thinking about your own photo legacy, what is going to make sense to family so that they can then find all of the photos as well? So have a little bit of a think and a plan before you go right ahead. Also, when it comes to how far down in the date and months you go, I would recommend that you go from a years and then months and maybe events, and don't go as far as days. Because if you go as far as days, you could spend your entire life trying to find that one photo that you're not sure was on the Thursday or the Friday of that week. So if you do it on months, you can then use other programs to sort them by days, like Adobe Bridge, to then see where the individual days are. But detailed, way too detailed if you go as far as days. And then also sorting your photos. It's best to sort the photos by the photo shoot date, because that will be the date that they were taken, considering our WhatsApp challenge. But also sort videos by creation date, because videos do not have a photo shoot date. They have a capture date, they don't have a photo shoot date. So use the creation date, that will work better. So we are getting there to sorting our photo catalog. We've addressed 3 problems. We've addressed all those duplicates. We've got rid of all those wrong dates. And we now no longer have an absolute mess of foldering. We've got some beautiful folders, but what about the names? The problem with photos, those generic file names mean nothing. Image 123 tells me nothing about that photo. It tells me nothing about the year or the date or an event. It gives me no clue whatsoever. So it can be really difficult to find the photo that I want. And also, if you're taking a lot of photos on cameras and you're using SD cards, you could end up with a totally different photo having exactly the same name, which is not what you want. So we need to have clear descriptive file names to make it searchable and easily organized. And you don't have to do it one by one. We've got some tools that are going to do some bulk renaming for you. So more tools to add to your list. We have a Better Finder Rename, which is from the same people as a Big Mean Folder Machine and a Better Finder Attributes. They do some amazing stuff. You can do bundles. It's brilliant. Then we have Bulk Rename Utility for the PC, which is free and really powerful. And then we have Adobe Bridge, which covers as long as you've got an Adobe account, you don't need to pay for a subscription. As long as you've got an Adobe account, you can download Adobe Bridge for free. But how do these beautiful tools work? In fact, you can use these tools to rename an entire catalog based on the criteria you give it. And I am a big fangirl of Bulk Rename Utility. It's easy to understand, it's free, it is only for the PC. You can tell I have a bit of a PC Mac kind of feel about it, but Bulk Rename Utility is really easy to use. And essentially what you do, there's a theme going on here, that you select the folder that you want to rename and you define the level. So the level meaning, so if I select a folder, it will just automatically just load up those folders. But actually I want it to look at the subfolders and all the files underneath that. So I don't want it to rename my folders because Photomove and the Big Mean Folder Machine have already named my folders for me. I want to change the files which have got that random image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 name. Yeah, I don't want to do that. So I click at the highest level. And if you are feeling super confident, you could just click at the highest level in your photo catalog, which I do because I'm feeling super confident, but maybe the first time, don't go that far, but it does mean that you can then just leave it to rename your entire catalog. And you can tell it whether you want it to look at folders, files, subfolders. So I tell it to look for all of the files in all of the subfolders. Then what you need to do is you then need to define the flow of your renaming. And what I tend to do is I tend to remove the current name unless you've done a really good job of naming your files. Most of the time, you probably just want to take that random name away. So remove the file name. Then, because you've already got some beautifully renamed folders from your foldering, you could use the folder name because that has got the year and month in it. So all of your files will then have the right year and month attached to them. Then give it a sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you could put a bit of padding as what we call it. So you could do 001, 002, 003, just so that if you've got hundreds of photos, all the file names will have the same length. So your photos then would be, 2023, 10 for October, and then you would have 001, 003. So you can then totally search for that file name. But I will give you one very big warning. Make sure you tell it to keep the file extension of your file, because learn from my mistake. The first time I ever used one of these tools, I stripped out all of the file extensions on a load of files. I then had to add them all back in because none of the files would work. So make sure if there is a selection to remove everything or leave the file name extension there, make sure you leave the file extension there. You have been warned. But you don't need to use this kind of folder structure if you want. You can actually use the metadata in the back of your photos to rename your photos. So if you wanted it to be by date, you could use the photo shoot date and then put that into the file names as well. So you can use whatever you like. And then essentially, you just need to rename it. Press go, and then you're done. And so it's really easy to use. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a best practice when it comes to renaming. So I know there are different ways to write dates globally. I'm not going to get into the debate on whether it's day, month, year, month, day, year. Let's not get into that debate. But when it comes to renaming your photos using day, month, and year, there are definite ways to do it. And the best way is to do the year first in numbers. Then the month in numbers. Then if you're going as far as day, then do it in days, in numbers. There's a theme. Then if you want to put any kind of event information, fine. The reason for doing this is because if you then do it by numbers, when you go into Finder and Explorer, you don't need any special tools to be able to sort your photos in date order because it will numerically sort your photos. It's genius. So don't use like April or August words because then April and August will appear together. If you do 08 and 04, then it means that it will sort it numerically for you. Brilliant. However, just a couple of watch outs when renaming your stuff. I know computers will now let you use special characters. If you feel the need to do a question mark or an exclamation mark, please don't. They don't work very well when you try and share them across from different platforms. So please don't do that. And also when it comes to spaces, the world has sort of changed a little bit over time where spaces did not work very well when you moved files from one computer to another. The computing world has sort of caught on that we do want to do spaces. However, if you want to make sure that you are not going to have any problems moving your files from one place to another, a bit of an underline or a dash instead of spaces is a great option, but you can make the decision. So we've solved all of our major issues. We've got rid of duplicates. We've got rid of some incorrect dates. We no longer have our folder mess, and we no longer have some random names. But there is one common problem that I do get a lot of questions about, and it's about getting your photos out of those apps. So if you've got Google Photos, there's Google Photo Takeout. You can go and find lots of videos. I've done a video about that. It requires a lot of patience and a lot of zip files, but I specifically get a lot of questions about Apple Photos. How do I export Apple Photos? And it usually sits in one of two situations. You are either an iPhone and a Mac user, or you're an iPhone and a PC user, which, believe me, is not as unusual as you might think. I used to be an iPhone and a PC user, so don't worry, we've got you covered. So if you're an Apple user, you could just export your photos from Apple Photos. It takes ages. You have to sit there with that little annoying donut doing its thing. And if you want to take individual, if you wanted to have all your albums out, you have to do it one at a time. It's just painful. But I've got a solution for you. It's called Photos Takeout. What you do is you point Photos Takeout to your Apple Photos, and it will load up and you can download all of your years, every single year, and all of your albums in one go. So you get everything. You don't have to do that horrible donutting, and you get all of the metadata, all of the tagging that you've done. Everything comes with those photos. You can also do a thing called moments, which is kind of sort of like days, but that's only if you've got the time and energy. Definitely years and albums. It's really good. But what do you do if you have an iPhone and a PC? It's not that unusual, and all is not lost if you want to try and get your photos out. There is an app called PhotoSync. What you do is you need to load the PhotoSync app onto your iPhone, and then there's a companion app that sits on your PC. Now, both your phone and your PC need to be on the same Wi-Fi connection, otherwise it's not going to work. But essentially, you select the photos that you want to download, and then you point it towards your computer. And if you want higher resolution, you do need to pay. It's about $5. It's not particularly expensive. And then you can download all of your photos, all of your albums to your PC. The only slightly annoying thing is that you do have to do it album by album, but it's way better than the Microsoft app for iCloud. So you can still get all of your albums out. So that problem is solved. But there is still one very big problem when it comes to our photos. There are so many options when it comes to files. There's raw files, there's TIFF files, there's digital negatives, there's JPEGs, there's, I mean, HEIC, there's so many options, and there are benefits of all of these. Mostly it's to do with level of detail and resolution. If you want to kind of edit your photos afterwards, it's all to do with like file size and shareability. And essentially that is where the problem lies, is compatibility issues with the likes of RAW or HEIC files, trying to share them with someone who doesn't have access to maybe the tools or the programs that you want. It's really hard to share your photos. So JPEG is kind of considered the universally accepted format to be able to share your photos. But who wants to change your photos one photo at a time? That's going to take forever. We have some ways of doing it by batches. You can do it on Adobe Bridge. You can do it in Photoshop. There's a lovely program called InFranView. Try and say that 5 times. And you can also do it in Mac Preview as well. Now, these tools are quite complicated. It's not that, it's not that complicated, but the instructions on how to do it can be a little bit difficult for me to explain. So what I've done is I've done a beautiful video for you. And that video is on the wonderful handout that you can now go and access. You go to clearbubble.co.uk/BNH. You can then go and get your beautiful handout with all of the links for all of the tools that I have just been talking about, your bonus video on how to batch change all of your photos, and some lovely discounts for all you lovely people, so you can get these tools for a little bit less money. And if you want some top tips about organizing your photos, head on over to my YouTube channel, Amanda Littlecott Photo Organizer, to get regular tips on organizing your photos. So you should now be able to sort your photos really easily. So there you have it, my favorite tools for organizing your photos. And hopefully you feel a little bit more like this and less screaming. So if anyone's got any questions.
That's great. Wow. As
Lots
great
of
as that was,
information.
Amanda, lots of information. You really made me realize how much I suck at organizing.
I always say to people, it's taken a lifetime for you to build all these memories and all these photos. You're not going to do it in 5 minutes, but these tools will help you do it a lot quicker.
What's the easiest way? I mean, I think it's like anything cleaning or organizationally related. Like it's like your house. It's like, okay, I sit here and it just stresses you out looking at all this stuff. You come back from a trip, you don't want to unpack. Okay, well, if you unpack your suitcase, maybe do your laundry, that's one small step, or put your shoes away or something like that. What's the photo way of doing that? Because I find we let it all cloud our head and then we get frustrated and then we shut down and don't do anything. What's the easiest, like, first way to start?
I would say the first place to start is usually your phone photos, to have a bit of a clear through those first. Get rid of, the things that you don't want, go and look for screenshots, because those are the ones that are probably causing you the most stress because you see them every day. So it's kind of like, right, let's have a look at my phone. Let's have a look at the photos that I'm engaging with all the time. And at the same time, do a really nice little hunt and gather of all of your stuff. So, I was mentioning CDs, there's always a USB stick of photos. So a good place to start is just kind of get a box, put it somewhere in your house. And then every time you find something to do with photos, just pop it in that little box. And then you can gather everything together and then you can start. Because I think most people, the challenge is they're like, well, I know I've got stuff over there and I've got stuff over there and I've got stuff over there. And that's the bits that's stressing them out. Whereas get it all in one place and then you can slowly, go through it. That's definitely the way to do it.
You read my mind.
Go and get that box.
No, you read my mind. I'm looking. I pulled up my camera roll now. We are currently at 103,570 items.
And how many of those are screenshots, pictures of receipts, labels? Yeah. Oh, I'm going to buy that later.
Or stuff you take to send. Hey, I see a funny sign. I'm going to send it to somebody instead of hitting delete. You just save it. And it's the nonsense.
Yeah. And then duplicates, like WhatsApp is the worst for adding duplicates. So you send it to someone, they might send it back to you. It saves to your camera roll. It's like, you end up with millions of duplicates. But I I'm all about kind of taking it out of those apps, and then you can see what you've got. Because I think quite a lot of people have got hard drives or computers or old phones, and it's all those lovely little memories that we're kind of not engaging with on a daily basis, which I love to
Definitely.
see.
Now we had a question come in. I know you did. It was before you started to go into the
Oh, okay.
phone and cloud stuff, but I'm going to read the question again just in case
Yeah.
they missed it, or kind of just to tie everything together. Everything I do revolves around my phone and cloud services. Are there iOS or Android apps you recommend along the same lines, or should I be moving everything to a desktop computer? So I want to kind of just broaden that a little bit. Most people are like that now. You have your phone on you. Should there be redundancy? Should there be, what's kind of the setup that you recommend? Phone, computer, or even like hard drive and off everything altogether?
Yeah, so it depends on what so most people want to engage with their photos on their phones. That's just where, we carry around basically our camera with us all day.
It does you no good
And
on a hard drive in your drawer.
yeah, exactly. You can't go, oh, let me show you a photo.
Yeah.
But there are some great kind of like apps out there. So people don't realize things like OneDrive and Dropbox will actually auto backup your photos from your camera roll to OneDrive and Dropbox. And then you can use these tools on your PC to sort through your photos, and then you can access them from your phone. I do that quite a lot for people who want to take them out of the apps. So they would then kind of have them offline. So you kind of end up with two camps. If I think about this person's question, is that you end up with people who want to do them in the apps, and there are ways and means of trying to sort stuff in those apps. So as I said, Photo Sweeper will look in your Apple Photos for duplicates, but trying to sort your photos in those apps the tools can't look at them. They can't look inside. Photo Sweeper is like an exception. So then you've got the camp of people who like, I don't want them in the apps. I want them offline. I want a hard drive. I want control of my photos. And that's where things like downloading those photos out, getting into a regular maintenance process, or if you're backing them up to OneDrive or Dropbox, you can just sync that folder and sort that folder using all those tools. Works exactly the same. So it really just depends on how you want to engage with your photos as to where you do it.
Regular maintenance process. Those three words that we probably all disregard. I think it comes down to like everything, organizing, naming
Yeah.
is after like the phone, after the camera roll on the phone. That's probably the second biggest thing. And I always say, I'm going to develop a strategy. And one thing that people don't think about, I don't think, especially the photographers, and this
Mm.
goes for professionals. Professionals are usually better with it, but hobbyists don't think about use the same camera over and over. Your stuff is going to start renaming, and
Yeah.
you're gonna start rolling up on the same
Yeah.
file numbers if you don't change settings in your camera. I see it all the time. You go in and it's
Yeah.
like, do you want to replace IMG 3271? And then you're like,
Yes.
wait, do I already have
You're
it
like,
in the
which one's that?
folder? Or
Yeah.
is it its separate photo altogether? And then you hit that panic moment of, wait, did I just overwrite
Yeah.
all
My
these
favorite
images with
photo.
exactly? So
Yeah. And
um
that's where those renaming tools are so easy to use. Because if you're already in the process of going, right, I've folded, that's 2010, that's 2011, you rename them to those dates, then, you can keep the original file name, but as long as you make it different at the front, you can then still have, your image 12345. But then when new image number 12345 comes in, you can then name it, 2022 image 12345. So again, what you've got, and it gives you a little bit more information when you look at the photos as well. If you rename them by that year and date, it means that when you go and search, you don't need any kind of fancy tools to go and search. You can literally go into like Finder Explorer and go, give me all my photos from 2022, and it will come up because they're all in the file name. So it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, it sounds so much easier, and you have to upload them
Yeah.
it's like I import the images anyway, and I change the
Yeah.
name of the folder. Why not just go and again,
And it's like,
batch.
it's literally a couple of clicks and you're just like,
That's it.
done. Yeah.
You're battery naming everything.
And you're done.
I
So you just
the
need to
more
add that extra step every time you upload something. Go for it.
yeah, and it's not even that much of a the more I
No.
talk and the more I listen to you, the more I'm like, man, I've been making excuses and I'm making them right now. I continue to do it right now. Another question: have you tried
Yep.
any AI tools yet? If there are any, what's going on in the world of AI in
So
organizations?
it's quite, everyone kind of goes, have you tried AI? I mean, technically, Apple Photos and Google Photos have been
A lot of
using
stuff.
AI for years because that's where all your keywording has been coming from and all that kind of stuff. So I have tried, there is a tool that I have tried to use to try and find duplicates, and I've tested it very recently. It's called Xire Photo. So it's EXCIRE, Xire Photo. And it is, it kind of started its life as a way to automatically keyword all of your photos. So, you know, if you've done a photo shoot, it would come, you know, be like beach and ball, and it would put all those lovely keywords. And they've extended it so it also looks for duplicates, and it does a pretty decent job. But you can also use that to find photos. You can kind of go, this is a similar photo, find me a similar photo to this, find me a photo with faces. So that's a kind of a nice offline tool to go and do that. And then there's another offline tool called Mylio, which is more of a photo management tool. I think you might have had some talks on that as well. So, but Mylio is a kind of like, I want to have my photos offline, and that uses AI in the background. But I would say from an AI point of view, yeah, photos have been using AI for ages. And yeah, you just didn't really realize that we were using it. But from a tool point of view, to help you organize your photos, yeah, there's a few out there.
Awesome. Ton of great information. I want to thank you again, Amanda. Of course, thanking the photo managers and Kathy for everything she's built. And, you know, every time I have you guys on, one day I'm going to log on for one of these photo managers workshops, and I'm going to say, guess what? I finally did it. I finally got organized.
I know. And we're photo managers all around the world. So yeah, you see, I'm here in the UK. We've got a little gang of us in Europe doing our thing. So yeah,
I love it. I mean, it's such a great, like now, because we didn't have to worry about this years ago. We had picture albums with 4x6 prints in them, and it was so manageable. And now it's like, again, 100,000 pictures in my camera roll, and that's just pictures in my camera roll, and that's not even the computer and the hard drive and all of that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get the one. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, like, you know, if I look at photos, it's really funny when I look at if I've done catalogs for people and I've digitized their old printed photos, you can spot exactly the point when they got their first iPhone, because it just ramps up. You know, we used to go on holiday and maybe take 48 photos, and if we were being really keen, we might take 2 films with us. Whereas now you can take 48 photos of your breakfast if you want. So, and I think that's why people get overwhelmed, because you're just like, well, do I want all the pictures of my breakfast? I probably don't. So I think, yeah.
And you were deleting stuff. Now it's like, well, there might be one case 11 years from now where I'm going to want to show some person who I haven't even met yet this picture. And you're like, oh, let me just save it.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah.
I think that's a big hump to get over too, is like the psychological aspect of I've lost hard drives before, and guess what? I'm still here. I'm still living. There was very important images on there. There was family memories. I'm still here. At the end of the day, I'm still living my life in real life. So I'm going to throw in one last question here from photo organizing stuff. What do you recommend for figuring out what photos don't have good date metadata?
So there's usually a few ways. So there's the WhatsApp with the crazy file names. That's usually a good hint as to something's gone a bit wrong. The other thing I use, as I mentioned, you can tell if the date is wrong if you know birth dates for people. So if the child wasn't even born in 2007, clearly wrong. The other way to spot it is also when you look at the date of a creation date and everything is within a couple of seconds of each other, that usually means they've taken it from an SD card and copied it over. Because if you then look at the photos and you're like, there is no way these photos are within a couple of seconds or minutes of each other, that is like, the dates are wrong. We need to go and find the right date. And that's when you go off and investigate and try and work out what kind of dates are done. Backgrounds, really simple. If it's snowing and it says it's June, probably, well, depending where you are in the world, but if it's snowing in June, probably not right. So I've done that. I had a client who their photos were all, I think it was 112 days out. They'd obviously set the date on their camera and then just left it there. And then when I moved all the photos by 112 days, they all looked exactly right. So it's kind of looking at those little hints. It's finding one photo in a batch and going, well, that one's wrong, then they're all probably wrong. And as you're saying, we can use the names. So because you've probably copied them over as, image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If one of those looks wrong, probably the whole batch is wrong. And then you might have to go and do a bit of detective work to go and work out what the right one is.
All my pictures were taken on January 1st, 1999.
Yes. Yeah, I get a lot of those. Or 1970. January the 1st, 1970. You're like, no. So yeah, but then sometimes they really helpfully have the date in the file name. So sometimes that's helpful because you're just like, well, clearly that's right. And therefore I can use that date to redate my photos. So, and then if all else fails, you have to do a bit of detective work and work out where were you and just do roughly right rather than exactly wrong is the
Yeah.
way to go.
I mean, I feel like that's how our parents did it. I go through and like when I look at the old prints, it
Yeah.
would be like early 1983. It's
Yeah.
like I don't need to know the exact date or the year even, just knowing 19 when it's 20 years from now. Okay, 1983 is as good as February
Yeah.
7th, 1983.
I mean, even the 1980s is enough, really, because
Yeah,
it's like, that's fine. I know I was roughly that age in the 1980s. That will do. Um, I think it's just we've got slightly obsessed because we're so used to all the information that we
we
get
have
from our digital
everything.
photos. You've got all that camera data and the location, and it's all like lovely little data.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, if you think about it, we used to just get a printed photo, and if we were really keen, we might have written on the back,
Mhm.
but we just
Now
got
it's like if we
printed
don't
in an
have
envelope.
GPS coordinates, it's like,
I
oh, I
know.
don't know what corner I was on when I took this.
I know. How am I
Ah,
ever going to find this again? It's
right?
like, no, it's fine.
So I think
Absolutely fine.
I guess to wrap it all up, start now.
Yeah.
If you're like me and you've been horrible at this, just start today. It's easier. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about stress about going back. Start today, so that way you're not accruing any more bad habits,
Yes.
and just one thing at a time.
Yeah. Start now. You can mop up the mess later. And
Yeah.
I would just say, just make sure everything is backed up and then it's all safe and you can sort it later. You can back up a mess and fix it later.
What's your best recommendation for backing up? How much? Let's go. If you have a good site that you recommend, or and then how much? How many do you do? 3 backups, or what's the
So I
rules
do
you
the
use?
3-2-1.
Okay.
So you have 3 copies of your data at any one time in 2 different formats. So one cloud, maybe, one hard drive, and one offsite, which I kind of kind of think of as cloud. So I use Backblaze to back all my stuff up because it automatically, plug a drive in and it just does it. And I don't actually anything that involves you remembering to do something, you are the thing that's going to make it fail. So if there's anything that can just sweep your computer, I've got a NAS downstairs, so kind of a network storage that, at night whirs into life and goes backing up for me. So definitely 3-2-1, definitely make sure that it's working. And don't have 3 hard drives and put them into one drawer because what's the point? They'll all just fail. So yeah, that would be
Awesome.
my advice.
At least I'm doing one thing right. I got Backblaze.
I'm sure you're doing more than you think. It's fine.
Ah, the mess you talked about, mopping up the mess. We would need like one of those wet vacs over here. It's
Oh,
yeah. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start. Because I feel bad
yeah.
coming on here every time I log on for one of these. I'm like, I'm bad. I'm bad. And I know somewhere Kathy's just sitting there probably shaking her head like, we've done how many of these and you haven't started yet?
No,
One
it's just a little
one
and
thing.
often. Yeah, start with the new stuff and then you can sort once you get into the rhythm of it, you can sort the historic stuff.
There we go. I just got back from a trip. I'll go in. I'll rename my
There you go.
vacation photos.
Rename.
That's it. Building good habits from
Done.
today.
Job
Awesome.
done.
Amanda, huge thank you for having you on.
Thank
This
you
was
so
great.
much.
Ton of great information. Of course, we have a month of information. It's Save Your Photos Month. So everybody, now is the time to save your photos and worry about how you're organized going forward. Huge thank you to Amanda, the rest of the Photo
Thank you for
Managers
having me.
team. Always great having you on. You're welcome back whenever. And to all of our viewers out
Great.
there, we dropped some links so you guys can follow up with Amanda, her YouTube channel, Instagram, all that wonderful stuff. And
Fantastic.
that is it. That's all we got for today. Another edition of the B&H Event Space now in the books. Catch y'all next time.